Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. You ever hear the phrase, it's hard to find good help? Well, here in Florida, that is a rule. It is impossible. It's impossible. I mean, maybe it depends on the industry. But in the motorcycle industry, it is difficult. It's just full of trailer trash, little idiot, dumbass motherfuckers who lie. A bunch of liars. They say they can do service, oh, they can't. They say they can paint, they can't. They say they can do body work, they can't. They lie. All I can do to suggest to friends of mine who are hiring people is to check references. Check references. If they have no references and you're going to take a risk on somebody, that's on you. That's on you. And amongst shop owners, there's a lot of complaints about employees. We can sit around for an hour talking about story after story of fucked up employee. I have several of them. I just went down to a buddy of mine's motorcycle shop earlier today. I do a lot of business-to-business work. I don't do service on motorcycles anymore. I used to many years ago, but I stopped doing that. For the last 10 years, all we do is metal fabrication. Any kind of bike I build is for myself, meaning that I'll buy it, customize it, and then flip it, but I'm not doing this for customers anymore. We used to do a lot of bike building for customers. I don't do any of that shit no more. There's just not a lot of disposable income, and I got kind of sick of some of the customers wanting to build stupid bikes. At a certain point of the game, when I got successful with handlebars, I realized, I'll just build these bikes for myself. Fuck everybody else. So I do a lot of business to business, and part of that, setting up contacts, is grooming contacts, and when you groom a contact, you want to keep it going. So it's important to be able to be on top of people, to, if you haven't heard from a customer in a while, to go check up on them or to call them, send people Christmas cards, buy them all lunch once in a while at your favorite account, people who treat you the best. Just to remind them that you exist and that the relationship is good. And anytime that you come up when they're doing their business, they're like, oh yeah, Sky's the one, Sky's awesome. And I want people to think of me first when it comes to custom work with the other shops. So I spend time going around to other shops when I can, when things are slow. Bopped down to a buddy of mine's shop downtown earlier today, and then he hasn't ordered from me in a little bit, so I just kind of figured I'd go check up on him, see what's happening, see how that business is going. And I walk in and he's in the middle of a fight, of a argument, a nasty one, where curse words, and these guys were past being rational, and now they were throwing insults. I walked in at that stage of it, and it was with the owner of the shop, buddy of mine, big son of a bitch, and this little skinny crackhead looking motherfucker that all I could assume was a low-level mechanic, because he goes through those guys. These low-level mechanics that he has like one or two that are there forever, and then there's always that third guy who's a different guy. Every time I go there, the third guy is different. It's always a different motherfucker. And I've asked him, how come you can't build a team? And it's just the way it is. Good help is hard to find. So he went through another one. I stood there and watched them argue. And the guy storms off. He said, get the fuck out of here, and kicks him out of his shop. And the guy storms off, angry and dejected, and I don't know what it was about. The guy it could have been justified. I don't work for my friend. Just because you hang out with someone, you don't know what their management style is. My friend could be a jerk. I don't know. Maybe he runs his shop like a dictator. I've known people who did that. There's a shop up the street. I'm not going to call it out because it's a friend of mine who owns it, and I see him often. But he has his whole service bay bugged. Not just with cameras, but with audio. And he sits in his fucking office looking at the fucking TV screens and listening to the conversations of his mechanics. And if they say anything that he doesn't like, he'll come out there and be like, that's just weird shit. If they want to talk about smoking a joint later or something, I don't know, but whatever, they literally have to go out into the parking lot and walk around like they're fucking John Gotti to hide from the fucking big brother. What a weird way to run a shop. But my buddy was super angry, bright red. The loser dude walks off. I felt bad for my buddy. He has to continually go through this, and it's just one of these problems. I don't really have a solution on this video other than check references. And this guy didn't have references, and my buddy had taken a risk on him. You know, sure, we'll take a chance with you. We need people. We're in, you know, it's hard to find people these days. And he got burned. I was talking about this with my brother, and he laughed, and he reminded me of a very funny story that he's told me before that I forgot all about. And my brother did landscaping for a while, and me and him had our own landscape company together that was quite successful. We sold that company for a profit. We built it from nothing, sold it for a profit, and the company is still going to this day. The company's been around for more than 30 years. Not under my ownership, but I started it. And he's done landscaping a lot. Not anymore, but he did for years. And he told me about one day he was on the job with a rather large company, and they were downtown doing a commercial property, whole 9 yards, mow, blow, pruning bushes, a little bit of tree work. They do everything. Commercial property, it's not going to just be like a residential property. They're responsible for everything outside. So they're there for a little while. There's kind of some bickering going on between one of the employees who was rather new. This country boy, I forget what his name was. He had some kind of funny nickname. Giggles. Because he laughed. He had this silly laugh. And I'm not going to imitate it, but it was a rather feminine, silly laugh. Like a Mike Tyson laugh. So they called him Giggles. And Giggles was having an argument with the crew foreman, the guy who was running the crew. He was a working foreman. And I guess the argument was just too much for Giggles. Giggles had a breakdown. He said, take this job and shove it. And literally, he stripped down. He starts taking off his clothes, all mad. And the foreman and everybody's just standing there watching him, and he's just like, fuck this. He pulls off his hat and his goggles and takes off all his clothes, so he's butt naked. And he grabs this weed whacker that he was using. He was weed whacking, big old weed whacker. And he holds it over his head, and he gives this caveman scream. Ah! And then he runs off down the middle of the street, yellow lines, downtown, naked, with a fucking weed whacker over his head, and runs off. And everybody is just sitting there looking at him like, what the fuck? And he just takes off into the distance, runs towards the bridge. He probably just ran across the bridge. Who knows how far he got? Never saw him again. Nobody ever saw the guy again, and never saw the weed whacker again. It's hard to find good help. Thanks for watching.